Hello, everybody. Welcome to the special edition of TraderInterviews.com. I have Jeff White on the phone, a full-time trader. I wanted to talk to him a little bit about his ideas for approaching the market and a new course that he has available right now as well. Because he's one of the guys out there that actually teaches trading. But my feeling about instructors is that most of them in this industry don't trade. And Jeff is one of the unique guys that actually does trade and knows what he's talking about in that. And so I wanted to get some ideas for him for you so you could have some strategies maybe to give a shot in the market like he does as well. So Jeff, thanks very much for joining me on the phone today.
Thank you, Tim. Glad to be here.
I always start my interviews with defining what kind of trader my interviewees are. So how do you classify yourself in terms of trading?
I really am primarily a day trader and a swing trader. Those are my two preferred time frames. So what I like to do is find trades to put on for multiple day moves as swing trades, and then the bulk of my day is focused on watching the market activity and looking for intraday plays or day trades.
All right, so let's talk about each of those different charts that you're watching, and we'll start with the intraday. Give us a garden variety chart. What do you put on it and like to look at in terms of time frame, that sort of thing?
Okay, well, my charts are actually pretty naked. I really like to focus on price and volume, and most indicators out there really are derived from both of those two things. And so I really like looking at the source of those indicators. So rather than really cloud my chart with a lot of indicators and lots of lines or color that's going to cloud the appearance of price, I really prefer to look at price and volume and how they are moving in relation to one another. So, for example, I want to watch for strength that's coming on heavy volume. It shows me there's plenty of fuel behind that move, and this move may be sustainable. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it gives me a little bit better operating bias for actually placing a trade and monitoring the behavior of a trade. So I really like to monitor price and volume together, and I really actually shun indicators from my charts. I might occasionally throw them on there. If I do, it's going to be something real basic like a moving average, but I simply don't rely on those indicators for actually initiating trades. It's more if I have a sense that there's some additional support that's not clearly visible on the chart, then I might apply that indicator to sort of reaffirm what I feel like I already know.
All right, so a lot of traders do this that I've talked to, of course, is that they start with a whole bunch of different things on a chart and then slowly kind of peel it off as they realize that all they need is price and volume. Now, give us an idea of what that looks like to you in terms of whatever time frame.
Well, on my trading screen, I really have two main charts that are open. One is the daily chart and one is the intraday chart. So on my daily chart, I probably have about 4 or 5 months worth of visible data right there. So I'm looking at pretty recent price history, so I know where the nearby support and resistance levels are. I know if the stock is trending or if it's range-bound. And then on my intraday chart, I'm watching 3-minute bars, and I'm looking at data over the course of 2 days. So I'm looking at yesterday's data and today's data. So I'm looking very much under the microscope here, and I'm getting new bars every 3 minutes. And so what I'm looking to do is recognize some opportunity that exists on the daily chart and then use the intraday chart to really time my entries and exits for that. So the intraday volume bars on the chart I actually don't watch. I only watch price bars on the intraday chart. And on the daily chart, I'm looking for price and volume that's kind of setting up for a potential play over the last probably 4 to 5 days. So it's really about the past week that I'm reviewing most closely to see if price is kind of getting set for a move in one direction or another.
All right, so is it pivot points on previous day's close or a high that occurred in the last 7 days? What exactly are you looking for price to do?
Well, what I like to do is I draw a lot of trend lines on my daily chart, and so I'm aware of if a stock is pulling back, that trend line is not only allowing me to kind of gauge the pace of that pullback, because really that's what a trend line is going to do. It's going to help me determine how rapidly that pullback is coming. But it also gives me kind of a line in the sand, literally, to initiate a trade. So once price is able to move beyond that trend line, whether it's a pullback, and so it's a tilted trend line, or whether it's a stock that's bumping up against very flat horizontal resistance, and we're just getting a lateral trend line. Once price is able to move beyond that threshold, then I can see on the chart that now it's back on the move. There are buyers coming back into this stock, and I need to be involved. So that's what's really helping me to recognize trade candidates, and that's how I'm really timing my entries.
You have a lot of choices, obviously, across the entire market. So are you doing some sort of automated scanning to find these scenarios or situations during the day?
I wish that I were. Actually, one thing that I do is I'm the type of person that really likes to look through a lot of charts. And so in the evenings, I spend some considerable time flipping through and manually reviewing several hundred charts each night. And what that does is, number one, it lets me cherry pick the best charts that are out there on any given day. So, for example, tonight I'll go through and I'll review my charts for a while, and I'll jot down the best charts that I see out there, the cleanest patterns. And remind me to come back and discuss why I want the cleanest ones. But then tomorrow, those are going to be my focus list, and that's what I'm going to look at. So it really would be nice to be able to find some automated thing to allow me to do that. But the other benefit of it that would not come from an automated system is the fact that this gives me a much better feel for the overall market environment. I might find a couple of really strong stocks out there, but if we're in a weak market, then I need to be very cautious when I'm trading alongside. So by reviewing many charts every night, it's also greatly enhancing my feel for the market and getting a better grip on what the lay of the landscape is. Are we in a very strong market? Are we in a trendless market? Or are things starting to weaken and roll over? So I did want to touch on the quality of those patterns. And for me, it's not so much that the cleaner patterns tend to work better. It really is the fact that they help me be more decisive with a trade. So, for example, if we're taking a garden variety bull flag pattern, it's a pattern that a lot of traders can recognize, and you can look through 100 charts and probably pick out several bull flags out there. For me, the tightest ones and the ones with the most clean basing or consolidation area are the ones that I'm going to focus my efforts on, because I've got a very well-defined entry for placing that trade. I've also got a well-defined exit in case that trade were to fail. So it really allows me to be more decisive with my trades when I find the cleaner patterns. And so it's not necessarily based on which ones work the best. It's really based on what allows me to be the most effective as a trader. And as a trader, Tim, that you've got to be decisive and make choices and step out there and put your opinions into place through your account. And that's not easy to do if you're wavering or if you're uncertain or talking yourself out of trades. So for me, the cleaner, tighter patterns definitely tend to work better for me, and they make me more decisive and therefore, I believe, more effective as a trader.
All right, so you mentioned the bull flag, which I'm assuming is one of your kind of main weapons in terms of finding those patterns. Do you have others, and how did you narrow them down to these that you're going to look for by flipping through these daily charts each night?
Well, really over the last several years, it's really just been something that I've noticed that those tend to be my favorite types of trades. When I find flags and wedges and channel-type patterns that follow a trend, those are showing me that price is resting and possibly getting reset for another move. And so in the case of a bull flag, I've seen a rally take place, so I know that there's momentum present in the stock. I've seen the stock begin to rest, and ideally that's going to come on lighter volume, which really is going to indicate to me that traders are not selling into strength. It's more the case of buyers taking a rest. And then I'm looking to buy a breakout from that flag, because that's my recognition that now buying is returning to the stock after it's taken a breather. And so flags and wedges, and whether they're bullish or bearish, those are the ones that I really tend to focus on. They're pretty easy to identify, and again, they make me recognize a stock that's in the midst of a trend, and it allows me an opportunity to get on board that trend.
All right, well, tomorrow we're going to talk more with Jeff about technical analysis and maybe have him describe a good trade he's had recently and what it looked like, and maybe a bad trade as well and what he learned. Come back for part 2 tomorrow.